Hey everybody, today I want to talk about the history of the Intellivision Flashback 2, which never came out, but probably it could have if it wasn't for Tommy Tallarico and the Intellivision Amico. And I will get to that in a minute, as well as the one time that Intellivision actually reached out to me. So the original Intellivision Flashback came out in 2014 from AtGames, working with Intellivision Productions, which was headed by Keith Robinson. Overall, pretty positive reception, although there were some critics of the system. There were hopes for a second flashback. So now we're in March of 2017, and Michael Tomlinson from Good Deal Games is reporting in a Facebook group, and I believe at gooddealgames.com as well, that there's going to be a second Intellivision Flashback 2 coming, that AtGames would release it in the fall, and that will include the Daddy East games like Burger Time and Locket Chase, and the Tron games. Pretty big news. I even made a video about it on my YouTube channel at this time. So what you're looking at here is a thread that I'll be using a lot from Atari Age called AtGames Intellivision Flashback 2 coming this fall. But let's go to another thread for a moment. This is the 2017 Flashback FAQ and speculation thread, and this is Bill LaJudas, who worked with AtGames. He was like a consultant for them, had direct communication with them. He's also an author. He has the Armchair Arcade blog site and has a YouTube channel. And so I'm going to use him a lot as kind of an authority, if you will, because of his connections to AtGames. So someone brings up the Flashback 2, and he says yes, to my surprise, there will be an Intellivision Flashback 2, a special deal, I guess. But the Data East and Disney stuff, and Disney, of course, being the Tron, not confirmed, kind of jumping the gun, frankly. So that was March 19th. March 20th, he says, okay, after having some discussions, it turns out that nothing is settled, either the system or the games. It's possible, but still needs to be worked on. So put it in the maybe category. Okay, so maybe it's not as guaranteed as Michael Tomlinson made it sound. All right. Fast forward to June of 2017, Keith Robinson has passed away. People are wondering, will this affect the possibility of a Flashback 2? Bill says this, I have no new info at this time. As far as I know, this was not proceeding particularly quickly prior to his unfortunate passing away. I'm sure as long as Intellivision Productions continues, there should be no issue moving forward if it was indeed still going to happen. But right now, the focus for AtGames is Atari and Sega. They're two main companies that they worked with. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's skip ahead. And now it's June 19th. And he says, okay, I'm not going to go into detail at this time, but positive momentum on something from AtGames that Intellivision related could be a whole lot better than previously anticipated. Okay, so that's the flashback. What could be better than the flashback? Well, there was talks about, hey, could it have like an SD card slot, or could it have HDMI? Because this is at a time where things were switching to HDMI and going into HD. Later on, he talks about the importance of including Burger Time. You need to have high-profile games, and interestingly enough, of course, AtGames would eventually have Burger Time in some of their products. And then later on, I thought this was interesting, someone asked about the sales. By the way, the ColecoVision Flashback was released basically the same time as the Intellivision Flashback in 2014. And they were asking, how they compared to Atari, and the person guessed that Atari Flashbacks outsold the Intellivision 5-1. And he says it wasn't quite that bad, but they definitely sold less than the usual Atari Sega stuff. Anything related to Intellivision, ColecoVision in the future will be a bit more targeted in terms of production sales to account for a lower relative demand. Makes sense. Atari Sega has bigger name recognition than ColecoVision and Intellivision. There should be no problem getting one, however, because we're still talking significant numbers produced. Okay, so if you're a fan, you should be able to get one. Let's move ahead now. January 3rd, 2018, asking about some ColecoVision Flashback, comparing the production and sales to the Intellivision. And he says, last I was told they were produced in the same numbers and sold roughly the same. The problem was that retailers expected more sales that actually happened, so they overproduced in response. Retailers are not interested in what they see as underperforming products. I do see both products being attempted again at some point, however, although I would suspect it'd be the last time if the numbers work out. So all these things are coming from that AtGames Intellivision Flashback 2 coming this fall thread, by the way. All right, so now let's go to January 12th. And he says, in terms of Intellivision Flashback 2, we actually made great progress getting some of the missing third-party games. So I'm guessing like the Daddy East games. Likely you'll see the fruits of that in our other products in 2018 before the Intellivision Flashback 2. So it sounds like the Intellivision Flashback 2 is still in process, but it's just on the back burner. So a little bit later, in May, About a year or so after I made my video, I actually heard from somebody from Intellivision Productions. At this time, I didn't know Tommy Tallarico was in charge, and it wasn't from Tommy, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tommy directed this person to contact me. This was a private message, which is why I'm leaving out their name. Hello, this is so-and-so from Intellivision. May we please request that you remove this video from YouTube? Intellivision Flashback 2 announced the No Swear Gamer. This was never a real product plan, which now, hindsight's 2020, yeah, it was really in the works. It just didn't get finalized, so there was a plan. It just causes confusion among fans. We would really appreciate it. Thank you. And they gave me their email address, but I just responded directly on Facebook. And I said, hi, so-and-so, very nice to meet you. Thank you for keeping Intellivision Productions going because Keith had passed away. And there was thoughts that Intellivision Productions would go down with Keith. I apologize for any confusion the videos caused. It was based on a public announcement that Michael Tomasson from Good Deal Games made, who I thought had enough credibility to be a good source, but I must have been mistaken. Kind of regret saying that because I think he had some good information. I don't know if he got it directly from Keith Robinson, and maybe he jumped the gun in it being a sure thing, but there definitely was some smoke to the fire. I have since removed a video. If you would like me to make a public correction of some sort, please let me know. Also, if there's anything that Intellivision Productions has in the works that you would think would fit my channel and would like me to promote, please let me know as well. Because on my channel, I cover retro gaming related news, like when new Atari systems like the Retron 77 came out. I made a video about that. So I'd like to cover that stuff. So I'd love to hear directly from Intellivision when they're doing something. And May 2018, what's going on? Well, later that month, they're going to release a press release saying that Intellivision Entertainment's being created. Tommy Tallarico's ahead, and they're going to make a new video game system. We wouldn't know it would be the Amico yet. So this is what's going on. Basically, they're making way for the Amico. This is what it sounds like. And by the way, did I hear back from this person? Nope. Never got a response. Not even a thank you for doing that. We appreciate that, or stay tuned. We have some big news coming. Nothing at all. The only other times I would hear from someone directly from Intellivision is when I first started covering the Amico, when Tommy Tallarico made some comments on my video, like thanks for covering the system. Made some general nice comments. I never heard anything privately, just public stuff. And then when I covered the Amico price increase, and said, I don't know if this price increase is good. Funny thing happened. I stopped hearing from Tommy or anyone from Intellivision at that point in time. So let's go back to another thread. This is now June 24th after I had my conversation with that person and after they released the press release talking about the Intellivision Flashback 2. And someone's like, hey, there's no more comments. There's nothing Intellivision related on AtGames website. This is what Bill had to say. It's still the AtGames Intellivision Flashback 2 coming this fall thread. We were going to do an HD update at some point. So that tells me that they were going to do an Intellivision Flashback HD with HDMI. That would have been really cool. But I think Intellivision Productions will likely want to focus on their own thing. So I wouldn't count on any successor from AtGames. So basically it sounds like Intellivision is pulling out. Tommy Tallarico is pulling out. And by the way, I heard rumors that Tommy talk trash about AtGames. And let's go. I actually got a post that was shared to me at an Amico Discord server. And this was from Plays with Wolves. He shared this post that Tommy did, talking about the flashback. It was better than nothing for sure, but when you dug deep, the emulation wasn't as good as it could have been. And the real tragedy was Keith and Intellivision Productions offered to fix it and give them all the right stuff, and they refused. A lot of controllers failed, and Keith and Emily felt bad for the customers, so they personally had to buy tons of controllers. By the way, he might be exaggerating here. I didn't hear about this. I didn't hear about them buying tons of controllers over cost and personally mailed them out to customers because AtGames didn't care and refused to deal with customers. Now there might have been a few instances of this, but I feel like this is being exaggerated. And by the way, Keith Robinson never trash talked AtGames. So it's real interesting. Keith Robinson was kind of like a teddy bear kind of CEO, very friendly, very nice. Didn't really trash talk anybody. He did, say some things weren't up to snuff. He did offer some fair criticisms from time to time, but he never trash talked his partners. So it sounds like basically Tommy burned a bridge with AtGames. Keith, they also the packaging. Keith had a much better design, but they refused. I guess I just know too much inside scoop to like as much as I should. Well, at least I'm honest. So that was apparently from Tommy Tallarico, proof that he did have a grudge, which begs me to wonder, why would Tommy burn that bridge with AtGames? I think I think it would have been a good idea if you already had this in the works. If you could have released an Intellivision HD, a Flashback HD through AtGames, even if it wasn't perfect, but you get it out to a bunch of consumers, you're getting the Intellivision name out there before the Amico, and you're also creating the cash flow. Maybe they were concerned that the sales of that flashback wouldn't be the greatest compared to like an Atari flashback. It might scare off investors if they were already thinking that way. But it still seems to me that they could have had the Intellivision Flashback HD, and it could have helped the cash flow, and maybe it could even help the Amico come into existence, because as we know, if you've been following the story, it looks like the Amico will never come out. Now, I'm just speculating here based on what I see, so you can share your thoughts in the comments below, but I do believe that Tommy Tallarico and the Amico basically killed Keith Robinson's plan with AtGames to produce an Intellivision Flashback 2 in HD version. I think it would have been cool to see that. It's kind of a bummer that they didn't. So that's my story. That's kind of that's like the history of the Intellivision Flashback 2. And my one time Intellivision reached out to me and then never again. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Click like and subscribe, and I will see you next time on the next Nosware Gamer video.